All right, so have you ever thought about, like, is it actually possible to be, like, madly in love with two people at the same time?
Like a real-life love triangle.
Yeah, exactly. Like the kind of stuff you only see in movies.
It's like a classic romantic dilemma.
Well, this was not from the movies. This one landed straight in our inbox, and it's a doozy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's got more twists and turns than a soap opera.
So what's the story?
Well, today we're diving into a story from Emotional Support Group, the YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, they do relationship advice and stuff.
Sounds juicy.
Oh, it is. And this woman named Sandy wrote in asking for help. And let me tell you, her situation's, well, it's messy, to say the least.
More than just your average love triangle, huh?
Oh, way more.
I'm intrigued already.
So, okay, let's start from the beginning.
Uh-huh.
Sandy meets this guy on a dating app,
Okay.
and they totally hit it off, like instant chemistry, can't keep your hands off each other kind of thing.
The honeymoon phase.
Exactly. They fall hard and fast, and within a year, bam, they're married.
A whirlwind romance.
Total whirlwind.
But sometimes those whirlwind romances can be a bit of a red flag, you know?
How so?
Well, like they can kind of gloss over some of those underlying issues that can come up later on down the line.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like the real test comes after that initial spark fades and you have to deal with, everyday life.
Right. So what happened with Sandy and her husband? Well, it turns out her husband works in banking,
Hmm.
and his job requires him to travel a lot. Like we're talking monthly business trips, sometimes even for weeks at a time.
Oh, wow. So even when they were dating, they weren't spending that much time together.
Not really, no. And that's where those little cracks start to appear,
Yeah. I see what you mean. Building a relationship on a foundation of separation like that can lead to some unmet needs and feelings of neglect.
Exactly. And those cracks turned into like full-blown fissures after the wedding.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Sandy's left all alone for weeks at a time, taking care of everything while her husband's, jet setting around the world.
That's tough. I can see why she'd start to feel neglected.
Absolutely. And that's where the husband's best friend enters the picture.
Oh, this is where it gets interesting.
Oh, yeah, this is where things take a turn for the complicated.
Okay, I'm all ears.
So this best friend, he's been like a constant in their lives, always around.
Right.
Sandy even sees him as a brother figure. At first, someone safe and familiar.
Okay.
But then during one of her husband's month-long trips, things get a little blurry.
Blurry, how?
Well, late-night conversations, shared vulnerabilities, and you guessed it, alcohol.
The classic recipe for a slippery slope.
Right. Alcohol lowers inhibitions. It can make you do things you wouldn't normally do.
And when you're already feeling vulnerable and neglected, it can be a recipe for bad decisions.
And let me tell you, they made a very bad decision.
Yeah.
They end up having sex.
Whoa, okay, so the brother figure becomes something more?
Yeah, way more. And Sandy's totally conflicted about it even while it's happening.
I can imagine.
But here's where it gets really weird. The friend insists on taking pictures of Sandy during the act.
Wait, what?
You heard me right. He says he wants them as a souvenir.
That's not right. That crosses a serious line.
I know, it's so creepy. And the fact that he tries to justify it makes it even worse.
It's like he's not even seeing her as a person with feelings and boundaries,
Exactly. It's like he's objectifying her, reducing her to some kind of conquest.
This is giving me major red flags about this friend.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely not the harmless buddy he pretended to be.
This is a whole other level of messed up.
You can say that again.
So what happens next?
Well, unfortunately, it doesn't end there.
It gets worse.
Oh, yeah. Way worse.
So Sandy and the friend?
They get caught up in this whole whirlwind thing, and the affair continues for, like, the entire time her husband's away.
Oh, wow. So she's really playing with fire here.
Yeah. And she's telling herself it's just to fill the void in her marriage, that she's missing passion and excitement. But something tells me it's not that simple.
You're right. It rarely ever is. It's like she's trying to find external validation instead of dealing with the root of the problem, Right.
Addressing the issues in her marriage.
Exactly like infidelity. It's usually a symptom of deeper issues, communication breakdowns, unmet needs, a sense of disconnect.
Which all seems to be happening with Sandy and her husband.
Totally. And let's be honest, the secrecy, the forbidden nature of the affair probably adds to the whole excitement factor.
Oh, for sure. It's like that Romeo and Juliet thing. The more forbidden something is, the more we want it.
Exactly. There's this psychological thing called reactance theory. It's the idea that when we feel like our freedom is being restricted, we naturally want to rebel and regain that freedom.
Oh, that makes sense.
So in Sandy's case, The restrictions of her marriage, plus the secrecy and risk of the affair, it's like a recipe for amped up excitement and attraction.
Yeah, it's like a dangerous cocktail.
Exactly.
But as with all things forbidden, reality eventually hits.
What do you mean?
Well, Sandy's husband, he's due back home and she's completely torn.
Torn between the husband and the best friend.
Yeah, and on one hand, she's got the guilt, the fear of hurting her husband and their life together. But on the other hand, there's this intense connection with the friend, the passion they've found.
It's a classic love triangle dilemma.
And it just keeps getting messier.
How so?
Well, just when you think things can't get any more complicated,
Hmm?
the friend drops a bombshell.
What happened?
He just stops contacting Sandy completely, like out of the blue.
He ghosted her.
Totally. No explanation, no closure, nothing. Just radio silence.
Wow, that's cold.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And you'd think Sandy would be relieved, maybe even grateful that the affair ended without her husband finding out.
Yeah, you'd think so.
But she's not. She's devastated. She tells the YouTube host that she misses the excitement, the passion, the attention. It's like she's mourning the loss of a real relationship, even though it was built on lies.
It sounds like she's confusing the intensity of the affair with actual love.
Right. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of something forbidden.
Hmm.
But real love, it's about more than just passion.
Exactly. It's about respect, trust, shared values, a deep connection, all things that are missing in her marriage.
So now we've got Sandy questioning everything, her marriage, her desires, her choices, and she's reeling from this abrupt ending that left her feeling rejected and confused.
It's a real crossroads for her, a moment of truth.
And just when you think she's had enough drama for one lifetime, there's another twist.
Oh no, what now?
It involves the friend, another questionable decision, and a whole new level of, what was he thinking?
Okay, so remember how we said things couldn't get any messier?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they do. So some time passes, the affair's over, so he's trying to figure things out.
Right.
And then out of nowhere, the friend tries to initiate another encounter with Sandy.
Seriously?
Yeah, and get this, while her husband is asleep in the next room.
No way he did not.
Oh, he did.
That is so disrespectful on so many levels.
I know, it's like he has zero regard for her husband, for their home, for anything.
And what about Sandy? What was her reaction?
Well, she didn't go through with it, thank goodness.
Okay,
that's
good. But she admits to feeling tempted.
Even after everything that happened.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's like that forbidden fruit thing, you know? It's so tempting, even when you know it's wrong.
Especially when you're still dealing with the emotional fallout of the first affair, all those unanswered questions and the feeling of rejection.
Exactly. She's caught in this web of desire and guilt and longing for something that's probably not even real.
It's a recipe for disaster.
No wonder she reached out to those YouTube hosts for advice. She needed some serious guidance.
It's times like these when having an outside perspective can be so helpful, you know?
Oh, totally. Someone to give you a reality check and show you the potential consequences of your actions.
Exactly.
And the YouTube hosts, they didn't hold back.
What do you mean?
They challenged Sandy's justifications, pointed out the huge risks she was taking, and reminded her that ultimately she's responsible for her choices.
It's tough love, but sometimes that's what you need.
Yeah, a good dose of reality.
So what happened? Did she take their advice?
It seems like she starts to understand that her actions have serious consequences, not just for her marriage, but for herself too.
That's a big step in the right direction.
It is. So yeah, that's where we leave Sandy, a marriage on the brink, a woman questioning everything, and a friend who's turned out to be anything but.
It's a story that really makes you think about the complexities of relationships, you know?
Definitely.
The choices we make, the temptations we face, and the long road to forgiveness and self-discovery.
Well said. And on that note, we're wrapping up this deep dive.
Until next time.